What's going on, guys? It looks like Bitcoin is breaking out of its descending trend. Keep an eye on where this candle closes. Does it close back under? Or do we keep these gains? If we close out of this pattern, our next target is going to be this 110,500 and then all-time highs of nearly 112,000. We break those levels and it's off to the races. Now we do have some job data news. The ADP report showed 33,000 jobs lost in June, whereas the expectation was an increase of 100,000. And also, last month's ADP report was revised down to 29,000 jobs from 37,000, which was a massive miss already. We do have non-farm payrolls coming up on Thursday with an expectation of 110,000 job increase. And as we talked about yesterday, there's an expectation that unemployment will rise for the first time to 4.3% from the 4.2% that's been hovering around for multiple reads now. This week, job data is making it likely for the Fed to cut rates. That's why risk on is rallying, in my opinion. And I'll leave this down below for you guys. But as said here, labor market weakness increases the odd of cuts. And as said by Andre, head of research of Bitwise, Fed rate cuts are becoming increasingly likely in July. Bitcoin on exchanges didn't hit a new low today, but it seems like it's doing it every week, if not every 2 to 3 days. Bitcoin on exchanges is hovering at a low of 2.04 million, and I do suspect in this month we are going to see it crack under 2 million Bitcoin held on exchanges. This Bitcoin on exchanges is only going to continue to go lower and lower and lower over time, and a lot of this is due to companies buying Bitcoin, publicly traded companies, not just MicroStrategy, but many others. And according to a report, which you can click on, I'll leave this down below for you, 199 entities now hold 3 million Bitcoin, worth about $315 billion. And this total is a double from the beginning of 2024. A lot of this due to the acceptance of spot Bitcoin ETFs. Wall Street is a part of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a part of Wall Street. There are definitely negatives there, but I do believe the positives outweigh the negatives. Bitcoin is cemented into finance. People are starting to see the big picture, and that is that this is a scarce, hard asset. It's like gold 2.0. But I'll leave this down below for you too. It talks about MicroStrategy and their premium to their Bitcoin holdings. They hold more than this. The last update was on Monday. They hold nearly 600,000 Bitcoin, a little over $60 billion worth, and they traded a market cap of 104 billion. Just a little bit under a 2x net asset value to their Bitcoin holdings. And we have been seeing some early adopters to ETH and Sol reserve strategies. For instance, DeFi Development Corp with 420,000 Solana, and SharpLink Gaming that recently raised 425 million for ETH holdings. And that's not the only one getting fully into altcoins. BitDigital, as many of you know, is ending their Bitcoin mining side and getting fully into ETH. Based on the 4-year cycle and the past and where altcoins typically run, they could be doing this at the perfect time, at least following the 4-year cycle and what we have seen every time with alts. And we do have news here that they fully exercised their share offering and the options to an additional purchase of 11,250,000 shares, which brought the company 21.4 million. That totals to 86,250,000 shares. This is dilution. This isn't always positive, but now that it appears that this is behind us, this is already done, and the company is now $162 million richer, you can see why it's been recovering. Now, this is obviously somewhat outdated because of that news with SharpLink Gaming and their massive ETH purchase. But look where BitDigital is in terms of their Ethereum already. $70 million worth of Ethereum, 27,000. They could be one of the MicroStrategies of Ethereum. Who knows where things go over the following years. We know BitDigital was far from the most efficient Bitcoin miner, and maybe they are making the right move here. Now, they have been seeing a decent recovery, but just like a lot of the other Bitcoin miners, they're stuck in between the 50 and the 200 MA. And only days ago, they were under the 50 MA, so they have definitely made a lot of progress in terms of price. But we really need to see these Bitcoin miners reclaim the 200 MA. For BitDigital, it's at $3. We need to break over the 200 MA and get this 50 MA over the 200. After a huge drop, seeing the 50 and the 200 MA cross usually brings a massive run, like we saw back here in March of 2023. After BitDigital recovered from its 55-cent range in the bear market in crypto winter, it got to about $1.30 before the golden cross and then rallied nearly to $5. Now keep an eye on Bitcoin and how it closes its candle. So far so good. It looks like it even gained a little bit as we're doing this video. If Bitcoin can keep moving, the Bitcoin miners will move even more so. During the good times when Bitcoin's in an uptrend, Bitcoin miners can outperform. During bad times, the Bitcoin miners will pretty much lose all their gains. And I do believe this, again, is the time to be in them, when they're starting to get back to profitability, when everyone's sentiment on them is so horrible, and after we got through a rough quarter, which brought the Bitcoin miners back to unprofitability, back to burning cash again. They do deserve to run again as they approach profitable quarters, like we saw here in Q2 for Bitcoin. But how are you guys feeling about Bitcoin? How are you guys feeling about the Bitcoin miners, the other Bitcoin plays, risk on assets in general? We should continue to see risk on move up as we get closer and closer to the expectation of rate cuts. Keep an eye on upcoming job data this week, and keep an eye on how Bitcoin closes this candle. So far, it's looking like we will close on a breakout, and we may even test this recent high of 110,000 this week. But thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.